Hi, I'm Link Harris. This is a video enhancement to my networking tutorial on Remote Desktop in this month's PC User. We're going to configure the logon properties and display characteristics for Remote Desktop client software. I'm using a Windows XP PC as the client this time, and I've put a shortcut to the Remote Desktop client software on the quick launch bar, so we won't have to slog through the start menus. The first time you launch the client software, you get this box, where you type in the name of the computer you want to connect to, click Connect, and then fill in the logon details for the host PC. I'm using Kim's account on the client, so that name is what the software picks up. But I want to use my own account on the host, and I could type in the details here and click Connect, but let's cancel out of this and click the Options tab to get this option sheet. First we'll configure for auto logon, which you do from the General tab. The computer name's okay, but there's Kim's name again, so we'll change that to my account name on the remote host. There we are. Add the password for the Sandbox account. There we go. The PCs are in a work group, so we can leave this field blank. Next, ticks the box, and that's all we need for auto logon for a remote desktop connection. If we cancel out at this stage, and then relaunch the client, get the option sheet and bring it up, note that we've lost everything we typed in. So let's do it all again. There's my name, password for the Sandbox account. Tick the box, and we're ready to go. So click Connect. The Logon to Windows box takes care of itself this time because of what we just added to the General tab. It takes a while to sort itself out, but pretty soon you'll see the remote display full screen on the client's display with Adobe Reader open. We'll close this so you can see that there's no background picture, only a solid color. There's actually a desktop picture on the remote host, but we just can't see it on the client. We'll fix that later. This is called the connection bar. If I click the push pin, this makes the bar float off the top of the screen. I can get it back by hovering my mouse at the top of the screen, and I can keep the bar by clicking the push pin again. From the connection bar, I can minimize the remote window to the taskbar, which is below the bottom of the video at the moment, so you can't see it. I can restore the window, and then, after I restore it, resize it by dragging a corner. So that's off the screen, but there we are. Or I can maximize it again, and when I do that, it brings back the connection bar. This button up in the corner closes the remote connection, but keeps Link logged on with any applications still running. And there we have the client desktop. This time, when I launch the client again, you'll see that it's remembered what I typed on the General tab. There we go. There are all the logon settings. That's because the software saves the contents of all of the tabs when you click the Connect button, and reloads those settings the next time you launch the client. Next, let's check out the Experience tab. These settings try to maintain the speed of the remote session by adjusting the number of glitzy XP display features that get transmitted depending on the type of connection you have. Changing the connection type, which you do from this drop-down list, automatically selects which boxes are ticked. And there's the last one. Conversely, if you tick or untick the boxes, it shows you the type of connection you need to comfortably display all of these features. The default setting is a 56K modem, which, as you can see, doesn't transmit the desktop background. That's why the host desktop was a solid color. Let's change the connection to a LAN, which is what we're actually using, and connect again. Wait for it. Now we have a spunkier desktop. Okay, back to the client. We'll launch the client again and check out the Display tab this time. Size refers to how much space the remote desktop display takes up on the client's monitor. The default is full screen. If you move the slider to the left, this changes the maximum size of the display. Although the control looks like it should change the resolution of the host display, it doesn't do that. Let's try 640 by 480 and connect again. Because I specified the maximum size for the display of the remote desktop, this means I can't make the remote window any bigger than that size. It won't really go full screen, for example. So let's restore it. Of course, I can make it smaller. Okay, let's disconnect. Yes, we want to do that. After we've disconnected, we'll launch the client again and change the size back to full screen. Get the Display tab and move the slider over. And when you do this, be sure to get a connection bar. Otherwise, you can't change the size of the remote display if you want to, which means, among other things, that you can't access the client's desktop during a remote session. If you have a slow connection, such as dial-up, you can speed up the remote session by reducing the number of colors transmitted for the remote display. The lowest you can choose is 256 colors. So let's try that. And if we do, as you will see, the remote display doesn't look so flash. It'll take it a moment to come up. There it goes. Let's check out the display properties to see what we actually have. Right-click the desktop and click Properties. Then click the Settings tab and wait for it to come up. Yep, it shows that we have 8 bits, which is 256 colors. So we'll cancel out of that and disconnect the session. Click Start. Do it this way this time. Yep, we want to disconnect. Back at the client, we'll check its desktop properties. Remember that the color setting in the remote desktop client software doesn't affect the number of colors in the client's own display. Sometimes the host can limit the maximum number of colors. So let's launch the client software again and click the Display tab. If we try for 24-bit color, which is the most remote desktop can handle, and click Connect, wait while this chugs along. Keep waiting. Here it comes. Still has to settle down. If we check the display properties and click the Settings tab, you can see we only have 16-bit color in this case, not 24. Now 16 bits could be the actual setting on the host PC, or it could be limited by a group policy setting on the host. The tutorial in the magazine explains about this. Okay, that's it for now. Catch you next month.